Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Fear the Walking Dead Season 2, Episode 2, We All Fall Down. The episode is rated TVMA, so this video be. There will be spoilers for everything live-action Walking Dead franchise leading up to and including this episode, and another episode that I absolutely loved. So, I... yeah, I think this is gonna be chronological. Yeah, so very effective opening. Especially thinking back on it, knowing that by the end of the episode, the girl has turned. She's not packing an Uzi, and it's not about fucking time. It's earlier than the family were hoping. Um, and yeah, the boy has lost at least one of the parents, possibly both, and a sister. And yeah, I mean, there's basically no future there. Um, Great bit of deceptive editing because it really did look like the kids were at-risk youths for becoming zombie chow, and then we see the fence and we realize the kids were well aware that the walkers were there. I guess they're beachers, aren't they? And yeah, they are they know they're not supposed to be there, but of course, they're kids, so they are still gonna play near the fence. And then we get the intro. So I was kind of hoping, because the episode before this one had a more toned down version of the title card, and this one does bring back the one that we're used to from season one. Still not exactly my favorite way to do it, but yeah, they talk about how they cannot outrun the other boat no matter how much they zig and zag. It is faster, and the yeah, essentially the only thing they can do is yeah, go for land to try to hide. And I love the tension. I am digging Strand, seriously. The yeah, the tension throughout. I mean, so far the entire show, every time he's on screen, but also like in this episode, some of the best was that early scene, really also every scene with him and Daniel. But yeah, the early scene where they talk about, he suggests one particular place they could land, and then Travis is like, well, we could also go here. There's a ranger station. There's going to be supplies. And everyone agrees with Travis except for Strand. And you can practically see the gears turning in his head. Is like, fuck, I can't take them all. Sure is where we'll go. That particular shore, yes. And the bit with Daniel, I'll keep you company, or will keep you company, and Strand be like, oh, I don't mind solitude. Like, honestly, you go, you enjoy the beach. My yacht's engine, it has this weird thing where sometimes it sounds like the engine's running, but it absolutely isn't. So if you hear anything like that, please don't feel the need to rush back to the boat. There's no chance that he would not have left them there. That's why he specifically, the first thing he suggested was an island that they would not have been okay on. He's thinking of how to get rid of them. I'm not saying that they don't need to land. Um, I do believe he is accurate about that, based on all the stuff he said about, yeah, but yeah, he might have shot himself in the foot a little bit by saying in the episode before this one, if we stop, it'll be to put people off, not to take more on. And yeah. So once they're on the island, the light, and I appreciated how throughout this episode I was genuinely not sure what the deal with George was. And really the entire family, but particularly him, and yeah, the thing about, Travis calling out, which I also appreciate, we understand where Maddie is coming from. Like, maybe we want to be a little bit more nervous. Like, it could be, like Venus flytrap kind of thing. But ultimately, once he introduces himself, that was also a great bit of tension. He walks up and he reaches out his hand. And for a second, I'm not sure how George is going to react. But then, he also, he meets his hand, shakes it, gives his name, and even asks, how can I help you? Or what can I do for you? Something like that. I just realized I completely forgot the, right. So, since it's Pride Month, I'm trying to make the YouTube recommendations I do be Pride themed. And certainly there's not much of a Pride reading of this episode. So today I'm recommending Matriarchetypes, What Makes Dropout a Safe Space for LGBTQIA+. Fantastic video, as usual, for Matriarchetype. Anyway, let's see. So yeah, and really, by this point, Walking Dead has made it clear, likes to, stick the jagged blade in and then twist it. Seeing the kids actually happy. Like, Harry does want to meet new people, and then we have the thing about the playing, and Alicia appreciated her honesty about the yeah, that's also, of course, where the title comes from. That old, it really is rather morbid that ever became a popular children's rhyme. But yeah, as far as I know, everything Alicia said about, uh, you know, that whole thing is completely accurate. And let's see, yeah, the thing about, the Harry's room, and the power pills, and Nick chuckles and says, "Yeah," and then admits, "I don't know what that is." And then he says, "It's pills that I have to take so my family stays together." And that, like, yeah, right there, that is, I mean, it's kind of Nick's sleeper agent activation phrase. You really don't have to tell him more than once that there are pills that might be of interest. I'm sorry, is that insensitive to say? I continue to really love this exploration of him as, yeah, struggling with addiction. And I do take it seriously when it's, in real life. Anyway, I think that brings us to, yeah, and the part where, yeah, Melissa talking to Maddie about, so you're a teacher. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you be up for what is technically kidnapping? I mean, that is, yeah. I like later when she talks to Travis and says it was like a job interview or something, yeah, that's, and, let's see. I think that does pretty much bring us to the, yeah, oh God, the part where, yeah, Daniel you know, Strand says something along the lines of, "You hover over me like you're the shadow of death." Maybe I am, or your guardian angel. And the part with, you know, where they talk about how things are going, and yeah, it is very interesting that Strand doesn't say my boat, but a boat. And by the end of the episode, Daniel has found the weapons and all these things Strand is keeping hidden. And yeah, I mean, if they just found out, if he had just told them, oh, by the way, I have, a submachine gun on this boat, like, I mean, they might be like, did you get that after the zombies started appearing, or did you have other plans? But, like, considering everything, it's not like the worst thing to have, but he's keeping it hidden. And we at one point see him on the radio with someone, and I really appreciated that they keep it vague enough that I genuinely am not sure if, like, so obviously this is someone he's hiding from the others, and this is at least part of why he keeps insisting on San Diego. And sundown, that is not a lot of time. But, or wait, is it the same sundown of the same day? I guess maybe not. Maybe it was, but yeah. And I don't know, that was the sense I got, at least. But he doesn't say, oh, we're gonna, just be aware there's some people on my boat that we're gonna have to, or the boat I stole that we're gonna have to deal with. No, he just said, I am coming. I swear I'll make it. Like, maybe it's just a romantic partner or something, and he doesn't know if he trusts the others to know. Like, I wouldn't completely rule it out. Some guys get real weird and possessive about their partners and don't want, yeah, the way that they do or do not, some in this case, sometimes talk about their partner to other people can get kind of like, what are you doing? So I don't know. I wouldn't rule it out. And I mean, submachine gun doesn't automatically mean that he's a bad guy. And I love that it hasn't been resolved by the end of the episode. I was hoping that it wouldn't be. But Daniel knows, and he might tell the others. And yeah, at one point, he and Ophelia talk, Daniel and Ophelia, and she says, "This the way the world is now has helped me to understand you." And then she says, "It's cool," which is very nice. Oh wait, sorry, cruel. She said cruel, which is a very unpleasant thing for him as her father to hear. But we can also understand, and just, oh my God, they're at the end where, can't you help them? He's got a gun. And yeah, I like the detail that Nick, yeah, he can tell these are not just like recreational, and the people here are not like pillheads. And Chris is continuing this thing of like, yeah, he, like, it was one thing when he said, he wanted to make himself useful, so he's fishing. Sure. But now he is killing zombies, and like by the last one, like Seth is even telling him, dude, like, we can come back later for it. And Chris is very eager to continue zombie slaying. And it was also interesting when George could tell that Travis was Maori. Not just, like, he didn't just say, well, I mean, you're not white, so you must have, he genuinely specified Maori. And yeah, I thought they struck a really great balance between, like, there is some truth in what he says, some of the he describes some of this as beautiful, and I agree. I've always thought, natives and indigenous peoples, they have some truly beautiful views on nature and such. Much, much healthier than a lot of white people in the West, frankly, particularly conservative ones. And I think that does pretty much bring us to the... But yeah, the balance between that and then also it's sounding a little bit like, yeah, I mean, Nick calls it Jonestown-ing. And yeah, the thing about the well, there's no more smog, you can just see the stars. And I feel like there's at least one more thing I really want to make sure to say about this episode before. I really appreciate it. I have to say, by the end of the episode before this one, I actually thought this episode would show what the deal was with the other boat. But the fact that we don't, and now there was that thing about, oh, well, our friends left. How far away are they? Like, are they gone? Or, like, because the thing is, if they can follow you even as you zag and zag, they might also realize, oh, they're ashore. That is something what if they have the means to wait it out, And I like the fact that he hasn't dropped, he still judges Alicia, the thing about, like, well, maybe it's her crush. And I feel like there was at least one more thing, but what was it? Let's see. I appreciate that we really got a sense of what life is like it, in a very short amount of time, at this place. And yeah, the thing about how Melissa wants the kids to be taken away, haha, ho ho, hee hee, and George very much does not. And yeah, the yeah, she says, if I understand it correctly, she was talking about her education. She said something along the lines of that she got an NSFW. Okay, didn't know you could major in that. I know she said MSW. It's just that's where my mind goes when I hear S and W in that order as a shorthand of something. And yeah, and the thing about, like, so George is a survivalist. Well, he's relying on the land. He's just running, like, and as soon as Melissa said, Seth is not going to be okay with this, I knew there was going to be problems with him. And I genuinely was absolutely not sure because, like, by this point, it's been made clear, yeah, they will straight up fucking have someone die just like that, completely unexpectedly, even a major character, even a regular character. So I did think that the confrontation would end with the death of one of our regulars, but ultimately they give up Harry, and yeah, just really, really fucked up. Just and oh my god, the waving and the way it fucking lingers, because it's just like Maddie is waving because she's trying to protect Harry's innocence as much as possible. And the thing about, like, who does and does not watch and who maybe suggests someone else should not be watching this, and yeah, that definitely felt deliberate. And yeah, at first when so that's where I was wondering when it was going to run out. I do not remember the girl's name right now. But she asks Nick, not Chris, Chris's zombie killing, asks if they can draw. And at first, he draws the conclusion that he cannot draw, and she draws him in, and they draw. Which, as far as like who scored the most point goes, is a draw. I'm trying to appreciate the diversity of the word. And I guess that brings us... So there's at least one more thing I wanted to say, but it feels like a good place to end it. So I think I am going to go ahead and just mentally fast forward through the episode to see if there is anything that I missed or fogged. I guess that does cover... Let me think. Yeah, it also really, the thing with she was, first singing it and then asking, what does it even mean, which is such a kid thing to... It's catchy. She understands that you're supposed to sing this and like, kind of twirl around and, but she doesn't actually know what the words mean. And I am not the right person to judge if it was actually okay for Alicia to be telling such a small child the truth about all this stuff, but yeah, because that is like, there was that thing, Alicia pretty much spells out, well, what do you do if there is no hope? Do you just try to go on? Do you just do what you can to? And George insists that he's not surrendering because he's mending the fence. It's never too late to mend even the fence, and the fence of defense. And yeah, just genuinely excellent bottle episode. Like, I got so invested in this little family unit, and it was so well done. This thing of like, yeah, like as Travis yells and Maddie is like, hey, maybe don't do that until we know. I was genuinely worried because like this is such a perfect spot for like just the worst fucking people to like, if they got there and they're like in there, because like a ranger station, you would assume, yeah, that's where you can go to get help. There's going to be supplies, maps, people who will offer advice and guidance. So it's a perfect place for the yeah. And then a child comes running out, and by the end of the episode he is running back to the... Yeah, I guess I will just briefly talk about... So, incredibly powerful scene as the Melissa is pleading with them, and she's giving them the bags and saying, okay, we have to get this done before George comes here, because he would definitely stop. The guy is absolutely wrong to be taking care of these kids, and he is right behind me, isn't he? And we get just enough time to appreciate, yeah, George is not okay with what is that, which we kind of knew would be the case, but it's still, it's escalating. It's different to be told than to have it shown. Yeah, and oh my god, the fucking log, and then George confirms it. Yeah, they cannot get anything out of going to San Diego. That like, why would all of them lie about? And I appreciate Daniel. He doesn't just say, well, it said it, I don't know. He points out, no, look, the most recent entry is from yesterday. It's not going to have changed. We're not talking about something that was like, oh, it was so long ago or something, which also wouldn't really be possible. It hasn't. We're still early in the zombie apocalypse on the show so far. And let's see, what was the other thing? There was definitely one more. Yeah, the thing with the what's wrong, Harry? She took the pill. God damn it. And of course, it couldn't just be, someone deals with it off screen or something. No, of course, we see her turn and we see Melissa bitten. and the such a powerful parenting point that she's just like, don't let Harry see this, you know, preserve his innocence. And by the end of the episode, technically it's more, you know, it's not really more gone than it was at the start, particularly, but it's gonna be not very many moments after. And yeah, so they are able to get Harry on board. It just doesn't last very long. And Strand is immediately like, you do not understand. This is my boat, do you? Like, this is still not, you know, and that line, we can't keep doing this. We cannot keep choosing who lives or dies. Yeah, just really really strong. And the, you know, he's like, well, kids are the definition of dead weight. I'm just gonna say, Strand, I think you have to legally hand back in your Dad of the Year cup. But the yeah, then, you know, Seth comes aboard with the rifle, and I'm sitting there thinking, technically he wouldn't be dead weight, but I guess there's no way to get him to stay, is there? And yeah, just so just really really effective, sad ending, downer ending to the episode. And yeah, I think that does pretty much cover. So I don't know, maybe I've already made it clear. I do think there is at least some percentage chance that the other boat, their friends, as Strand puts it, will be back. It might not be the next episode, but I think they are just staying just far enough away, because like they've realized through the radar, oh, we're actually faster than these other ones, you know. So, and I mean, do we know if they're alone? What if they just like contacted someone who's up ahead of the Abigail? You know, I don't think that it's gonna be that easy to deal with them. And yeah, you know, this was something I talked about in the episode before this one. You know, maybe they'll have to go on land and you get something compelling out of that. I think this was a really solid example of that. And yeah, I appreciate the way that almost the entire episode before this one, they were on the water. Like, they get on the Abigail within the first several minutes of that episode. And then in this one, we spend they spend a good chunk of it docked, and you know, some of the time we're on land. Excuse me. Gonna try not to let that happen again. Some of the time we're witnessing stuff that's on the Abigail, but yeah, just really they can definitely, as long as they keep it unpredictable, I do have faith in them being able to make this work. And I don't know, I guess I would say, so I'm not, you know, I don't know any spoilers for this show. I wouldn't rule out maybe at some point, maybe they drop the boat. No, I don't mean like off a cliff. I mean like, you know, not literally, but they find a place on land where they feel like, okay, here we really are safe, or have to use a different boat, and there might be some, because one of the things is also the Abigail seems to work quite well. You know, I guess it could also, maybe something would happen to it and they have to fix it, and that could be some drama. Maybe they have to go on land, a place they don't really trust, because maybe there's parts, maybe there's not, that they need. And maybe more people, maybe other people, you know, maybe some will die, and some of the Abigalians and will die, and some others will come on, and that'll shake up the dynamic. But as long as they keep things, as long as they don't let things get stale, I think it can continue working. And I don't really worry about it because, like, let's see. I have watched 6 seasons by now, I think it is, of the main show, and I don't think it has struggled with that at all. Neither did the games, the Telltale games, I mean. If you haven't played them, I'm telling you, the Telltale games, fantastic. And I think that might just about cover everything. So yeah, I really appreciated the way that for some of this episode, it was kind of this thing of like, you know, are they going to take it? Like Travis even puts it, I'm not going to take this man's kids, just because that is technically, yeah, they're not. There's no blood relation there, it's, yeah. Oh my God, the part where Melissa starts talking about, I think it's okay for Harry to climb into her bed. He gets scared. He says he doesn't, but he does. But maybe it's not so bad. She has this thing about her hair, or combing it, and just the shampoo. Just they had to. They felt the need to really ram home, just like really humanize these kids and Melissa, and also George and Seth in our eyes, so that it hits so much harder that by the end of the episode, maybe only 2, at most 3 of them left. And yeah, just so yeah, I think, yeah, I also appreciated that Daniel did point the gun at Seth, and Seth insisting he might not be able to get more than one of them before Daniel plugs him, but he should be able to get just one, and that's not something they want to have happen. But yeah, it's just, it is this thing of like, I guess I should, before I continue, I want to note that Skip Intro, among their videos on Propaganda, did a fantastic episode on the video, on at least one, on what I'm about to talk about. But yeah, I mean, it is almost like this thing of like, I mean, it's not like CPS is going to come around to this ranger station. So is it right? Is it justifiable to do this? How far do you take, like, parents' rights kind of thing? And it's that thing of like, there's just essentially, for a while, they really only do have circumstantial evidence, but when there's that much of it, it's like, I mean, okay, so George is being weird. Harry talks about power pills that will keep his family together, which, like, I appreciate one could interpret it as, oh, but it's like, that's how it's like, the it's that thing of like, parents telling their kids, if you don't eat your vegetables, something really bad is going to happen, kind of, but one thing is the fact that he's talking about pills, which, like, I mean, hypothetically could be medication, but, maybe not. And, in the zombie apocalypse, keeping your family together could also mean, you know, if you all die at the same time in the same place, that's keeping the family together. And then, Nick finds the drugs and confirms these are definitely not the kind that he would look to score. I also really like the thing about, let me know if you're talking. I know at-risk youths. I am an at-risk youths. And I also really appreciate the way that this is kind of like two family units that are like trying to find out what kind of relationship they have with each other, like the two units have with each other. Um, I'm not talking about the individual members of the units. And yeah, I do appreciate, like, as much as I definitely think, if you think you can help someone powerless, like, that is, we should do what we can in order to. Um, a heavy reform or of capitalism, or possibly nonviolent revolution. You knew it was coming. I can't shut up about it. It seems at this point. I mean, that is also, there's that thing about like, I don't really have time. You have nothing but time. Yeah, with capitalism gone, that's yeah. Don't have that time thief. I'm just gonna point out, it's been researched. It is a demonstrated fact that 40-hour work week, about 8 hours of work, 5 days a week, that is actually not the most productive. I forget the number, but you can look it up if you want the details. After, before it's been 8 hours of straight work, we human beings actually start to perform worse at tasks. And yeah, CEOs know this, but they want to control us and take as much of our time and just kind of grind us down. It's part of just making sure that we don't get ideas about unionization and healthcare coverage and such. Now, I think that does pretty much cover the but yeah, so obviously ideally we try to help those in need. But it is also this thing of like, George trusted them. He let them into his home. It is, yeah, and it's also like, aren't the kids gonna miss their parents? It is this really, really difficult situation. So I thought they handled that very well, the writers, I mean. And yeah, like, once again, like, I do think some of the best stuff of Walking Dead so far is the when we're exploring these kind of ethical issues and trying to figure out, like, what is even the right thing to do under these extreme circumstances. That, and if I may be shallow, obviously also gnarly kills either of or by zombies.